This week, a lot happened in the happiest country in the Western Balkans, Kosova. I'll give you a brief summary before I unpack it all. The first piece of news is not surprising, but it is scary because, as always, Serbia's so-called president/dictator Vucic tried to radicalize Serbian children. He stated on TV that he wants to try to invade Kosova, and then he threatened the West with a new war. Seems like being sweet to Serbia and letting them get their way like children, except that their children who commit terror, is working super well. Bravo to the EU and the US for that. On the topic of the US, Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, wants to develop luxury resorts in Albania and is trying to buy our land. We'll get into that later. In happy news, our PM Kurti and President Osmani continue to focus on good dialogues and on building even closer relationships with our partners, which is and always has been the Western world. It seems to be working because Greece's former PM wants to help us too. And as always, the UK continues showing us their support as they always have. Love you. Oh, and to the happiest news, we are now look at the sun. We are now the happiest country in the Western Balkans and 29th in the world. You may have thought that was just my hook, but it's actually from the World Happiness Report of 2024. I can personally attest to that. We'll be even happier when Vucic goes away. On Thursday, we detected Serbian army units just meters away from our border, as you can see in this footage. This happened just one day after Vucic openly threatened us by warning the West that they must choose between Kosova and Serbia, again like a child. If they choose us, which come on, Serbia will wait for the best possible momentum and will seize their opportunity, according again to their president, Vucic. So far, no response from the EU, nothing from Viola von Kramon, who usually likes talking, Escobar or Lajčák, but it will be very interesting to see how they spin their incompetence this time. But there is a country that is fighting harder for us than all the people who actually get paid to follow up, like the ones I mentioned before. And there are still people in this world who are not scared to speak the truth. Former NATO Secretary General George Robertson said in Parliament that being tough with Serbia pays off. People in this part of the world respect strength, he would know, which is what we have also been saying for years now. After their recent terror attack, this happened just in September 2023, and now threats of war, it is clear that Serbia does not respect being coddled. This has also been repeated over and over again by Member of Parliament Alicia Kearns, who has been saying this from the very beginning. During this session, she said that the EU hasn't shown strength in the last 4 years, which I can only agree with. UK's former ambassador to Kosova, Ian Cliff, also had some great remarks and asked the very obvious question we're all asking: what is the EU going to do about the terror attack? Seriously, what are you going to do about it? Keep waiting with open arms and hoping that Serbia somehow loses their ties to Russia, like in this drawing? They got a long way to go. Dr. Onde Hojai also pointed out the truth, for example, that the terrorists were hailed as heroes in Serbia and that the state of Serbia openly gave 8.5 million euros to a company linked to Radojic, the man who is running around freely and has admitted to being behind the terror attack. At this point, it is so clear that Serbia sponsored the terrorist attack that I cringe every time I see someone defending them. It's just clear that you're being paid. The UK also made a statement to the OSCE on the 25th anniversary of the NATO intervention in Kosova that you can read here. Thank you very much to all our allies and to NATO, and also now to Bulgaria for sending another 100 troops our way this week. Last but not least, a big thank you to Dora Bokayanis, the former Greek foreign minister, who recommended that the Committee of Ministers invite Kosova to become a member of the Council of Europe. Now to the real estate deals. Jared Kushner recently tweeted some AI pictures for some development projects he has been creating for the Albanian coast and for downtown Belgrade as well, and took part in this interview by Bloomberg. I don't care what development projects happen in Belgrade, as Serbia is not my country, but Albania and Kosova are both my countries, so let's talk about the plans in Albania. There are positive and negative aspects of deals like these. You can find people's opinions on Twitter and TikTok, so I will just share what we know is happening instead of my opinion. Albania is one of the world's fastest growing tourist destinations, so of course, someone like Jared Kushner, who is Donald Trump's son-in-law, as I mentioned, and his company Affinity Partners are interested in developing some hotels here. From what we can read in the article, they are trying to seal deals on 2 big real estate projects here. The deals are not sealed yet, but they are thinking that these could be worth more than $1 billion. They've got plans to turn this beautiful island, which used to be a military spot, into a fancy resort with the Amman brand. Plus, they're eyeing a coastal region with more than 3 miles of deep white sand beaches and want to build a bunch of resorts and potentially thousands of villas and hotel rooms here. Kushner plans to do this along with his buddies Rick Greneli and Asher Abishara. They're especially pumped about Ksamil in Albania, which is blowing up because of its beauty. Albania is very beautiful, but it does belong to Albanians. And now about the Serb children from Kosova, which really broke my heart. I have said this before, but the biggest enemy of Serbia is the truth, and there's nothing they won't lie about. As Albanians, we know there's no line they won't cross, even when it comes to children. This is a country who used to even kill Serbian children to try to frame Albanians for it, so why would anyone be surprised at how much they will do to continue spreading hatred? This time, Alexander Vucic hosted a group of Serb children from Kosova in Serbia. He used this opportunity to incite hatred and to try to radicalize these poor children. He did his usual delusional speech of trying to refer to Kosova as a part of Serbia and described us as a location targeted against Serbs. He also told the children that Belgrade is their only capital, although their capital is obviously Pristina because they don't live in Serbia. And then he referred to the terror attack that he organized and sponsored in Kosova, where an Albanian police officer was killed with explosives by the head of the Serbian party in Kosova as an injustice against Serbs. He voiced his concerns about more external threats and pressures, especially regarding our potential inclusion in the Council of Europe, by telling them that this will lead to their expulsion, that we will expel all these children from Kosova, the very citizens that we have been trying to help and to integrate for years and who most of our budget even goes to. I hope these children stay strong and that they have educated parents and that they get to grow up alongside their Albanian neighbors in Kosova and that they feel a part of this country because, of course, they are. I hope they no longer have to live in these parallel structures and that they can actually be proper citizens. A lot of them are. And that one day after Vucic is gone, they can live in peace, but also live in the real world because these radical tactics are disgusting. And I personally think children should always be kept out of these fights. But as always, there was not a peep from Viola von Kramen, Escobar, or Lajcak about this. And on the topic of Escobar, PM Kurti met with him once again and kindly reminded him to hold Serbia accountable for the terrorist attack in September. He also informed him of the steps our government has taken to support the transition of the central bank because, like all other countries, we only use one currency, which is euro. This was it for me for this week. I hope you enjoyed the brief summary, although it's a bit longer this time because a lot has happened. And see you again next week. Bye.